Hello, everyone. Today on the Explanation Zone, we're going to talk about supply and demand. And I think we all kind of understand this graph right here. There's a quantity that is being sold. There's a price in the market that is being sold at. And then we also have the supply and demand curves, which we kind of don't understand where they come from, but I'll get into that today. But the first thing we need to understand, and some terminology, is clearing price. There is a supply curve, a demand curve, which we don't really understand where they come from. But we also understand that in the market, there's going to be a certain price and a certain quantity. And right there in the middle is where they meet. And that is what we call the clearing price. Okay. And we all know that it kind of ends up there, right? But to really understand where those supply curves, where those demand curves, and why they go to that clearing price, we're going to talk about surplus. So let's say there's an apple and it costs $20 and it's going to sell itself for $20. And there's me. I will buy any apple that is below $35. Well, when I buy an apple at $20, I actually end up with a $15 surplus because the apple that is worth $35 to me, I end up buying for only $20. So I win out. And from this, we can kind of assume some basic rules like I'll buy any apple if it's less than $35. I'll also, because I'm a human, feel kind of weird about buying an apple that jumps straight to $30 after I bought it at $20. So there has to be incremental change. The second thing is that the apple is going to also abide by a certain set of rules. And that is, it's going to try to increase its profits as much as possible in any given year. And it becomes kind of like this really greedy little apple, right? Little laser eyes. But depending on the initial price, when it's just me and the apple, we end up finding that no matter what it is, I'm going to end up buying the apple at $35, right? Because of the rules. I'm happy to actually have this apple run away with all my money because I made surplus every time. I bought an apple at $35, which is what I thought it was valued at. Now, let's assume that this apple is no longer the only person in the game. We now have a green apple. Now, let's imagine all of Green Apple's friends believe that it would be a great idea for them to enter the game. Well, now we have a market. And we can see here that when there is a large market, actually the price decreases to $22.5 because I have a lot of different options. The other thing we realize is that we have an FTX on our hand right here, as you can see. This seller can no longer sell at the selling price, as you can see down here. It can't. It's at its lowest value that it can sell at, and you can see that it will never sell again because its price is too high for what the market is dictating, and it won't sell. So now that we come back to this graph, now we understand it a little bit more and why everyone on this right side of the graph will never be involved within the market. Well, the reason is that if we go back to our seller, right, it's going to decrease its price until the point where it can no longer decrease it. And when it comes to that price, it's going to end up in this top kind of right-ish corner of this graph, and it can't sell lower than that. So if it's sold at that price that we were talking about before, it will lose money, and it won't become very happy. And the other thing, too, is that there's going to be some buyers that won't have enough money to buy at that price because it's negative surplus to them. So I would be really sad because I would have made negative surplus every time I buy. And this apple would just be sad because it can't compete. So we end up with this price right here. But there are some assumptions that we made here. Assumption one was that there's a fair number of buyers and sellers. The second thing is that everyone is looking for the best price at any given time. And it has all the information to do so, to choose the very best apple to buy. We'll talk about market inefficiencies later on. But until then, thank you for watching. Bye.